The flash flood warning on Logan Ortega's phone had been blaring for 2 minutes before he even noticed it. His attention fully focused on keeping his 12-year-old daughter Maya safe as they hurried back to their beat-up Ford pickup after picking up groceries at the discount mart. The sky had turned an ominous shade of gray-green, and the rain started coming down in sheets so thick Logan could barely see 10 feet ahead. He'd lived in Arizona for 30 years, the last 5 in this particular valley town, and he knew exactly how dangerous flash floods could be in the canyon roads. The water didn't just rise, it roared through the arroyos like a freight train, sweeping away everything in its path. "Dad, my shoes are getting soaked," Maya complained, clutching the paper bags against her chest as they jogged across the parking lot. "I know, sweetie. Just get in the truck." Logan yanked open the passenger door for her, then ran around to the driver's side. His work boots were already waterlogged, his jeans soaked up to the knees. He threw the truck into reverse and was about to pull out when he saw her. A woman in a business suit and heels was standing next to a sleek silver sedan about 50 yards away, holding her phone up like she was trying to get a signal. The water in the parking lot was already ankle-deep and rising fast. Logan could hear it now, the low rumble that meant the real surge was coming. "Dad, we need to go," Maya said, her voice tight with worry. She knew the dangers as well as he did. "There's a woman over there." Logan put the truck in park and opened his door. "Dad, no." "The flood, stay in the truck, Maya. Lock the doors. I'll be right back." He didn't wait for her response, jumping down into the rushing water that was now mid-calf and getting higher by the second. The woman was closer to the edge of the lot, where the drainage system fed directly into the arroyo. If she stayed there another minute, she'd be swept away. Logan ran, his boots splashing through the current, his heart pounding. "Hey, you need to get out of there." The woman looked up, startled. She was probably in her early 30s, with long, dark hair that was plastered to her face and shoulders. Her white blouse was nearly transparent from the rain, and she was shivering. "My car won't start. The water got in the engine and forget the car." Logan grabbed her arm just as a wall of muddy water came surging around the corner of the building. It hit them both waist-high, and Logan felt his feet slide out from under him. He managed to grab onto a light post with one hand while keeping his grip on the woman with the other. "Hold on." She wrapped both arms around him, her fingers digging into his shoulders. Logan could feel the incredible force of the water trying to tear them both away. His muscles screamed with the effort of holding on, but he thought of Maya watching from the truck, depending on him, and he found the strength to pull them both closer to the post. "We have to move. Can you climb?" he shouted over the roar of the water. "I think so." "When I count to 3, we're going to push off toward that truck. The big blue one. My daughter's inside." Logan pointed with his chin, not daring to let go with either hand. 1, 2, 3, they launched themselves toward the truck, half swimming, half wading through the churning water. Logan's back slammed into someone's abandoned shopping cart, but he kept moving, kept pulling the woman along with him. The water was chest-high now, debris swirling past them, branches and trash and things Logan didn't want to identify. Maya had the truck door open, her face pale with fear. "Dad." Logan boosted the woman up first, practically throwing her into the cab, then hauled himself up after her. The water was lapping at the truck's running boards. He slammed the door and turned the key, saying a silent prayer that the old Ford's engine wouldn't fail him now. It caught on the first try. Logan had never been so grateful for American engineering in his life. He threw the truck into drive and headed for higher ground, taking the access road that led up and out of the valley. Behind them, he could see in the rearview mirror as the parking lot disappeared completely under brown, churning water. The woman's sedan was already gone, swept away like a toy. Nobody spoke for several minutes. Logan focused on driving, his hands shaking slightly on the wheel from the adrenaline crash. Maya was pressed against the woman in the middle seat, both of them soaked and shivering. Finally, when they reached the plateau road and the rain started to let up, Logan pulled over. "Everyone okay?" His voice came out rougher than he intended. "I'm fine, Dad." Maya was looking at him with that expression she got sometimes, proud and worried at the same time. "I'm alive because of you." The woman's voice was steady despite the shaking. "Thank you, I'm Julia Bennett, Logan Ortega. This is my daughter Maya." He reached across to turn up the heat, though the truck's heater was temperamental at best. "Where were you headed? Before the flood?" "I was trying to get to the Desert Rose Resort. I have a meeting there tomorrow morning." Julia wrapped her arms around herself. "I'm from Phoenix. I had no idea how fast the water could come. Most people don't until they see it." Logan pulled back onto the road. "The resort's about 20 miles from here. The main highway's probably flooded by now, but I can take the back roads." "You don't have to do that. You've already saved my life. Just drop me at the nearest town and I'll figure something out." Logan glanced at her. Up close, even soaked and bedraggled, there was something striking about Julia Bennett. She had high cheekbones, intelligent hazel eyes, and a determined set to her jaw that suggested she wasn't used to being helpless. "The nearest town is 15 miles in the opposite direction, and most of the motels there are pretty rough. I'm taking you where you need to go." "Dad, what about dinner?" Maya's stomach chose that moment to growl audibly. The groceries got wet. Logan thought about the soggy bags in the truck bed. They'd been shopping at the discount store because it was the day before payday and his bank account was down to double digits. "We'll figure something out, kiddo. I'll pay for dinner," Julia said immediately. "It's the absolute least I can do. Please, I insist." Logan's jaw tightened. He wasn't a charity case, and he didn't like the idea of taking money from strangers, even ones he'd just pulled from a flash flood. "That's not necessary, Dad." Maya's voice had that tone, the one that said she was being the adult in the conversation. "I'm really hungry, and Julia wants to say thank you." Julia looked at him with those hazel eyes, and Logan found himself nodding. "Fine, but just dinner." They drove in relative silence for a while, the rain finally stopping completely as they wound through the back roads. Maya, never one to stay quiet for long, started asking Julia questions. Where was she from? What did she do? Did she like dogs? "I'm from Phoenix originally, but I travel a lot for work," Julia answered. "I'm in acquisitions and development, and I love dogs, but I travel too much to have one, which makes me sad." "We have a dog," Maya announced. "His name is Copper. He's a mutt, but he's the best dog in the world." "I bet he is." Julia's smile was genuine, warming her features. "Does he like swimming?" "He likes puddles and the hose. Dad sprays him when it's hot." Maya leaned forward to look past Julia at Logan. "You're being quiet. I'm driving." But Logan felt the corner of his mouth twitch. His daughter had inherited her mother's ability to make friends with anyone. Sophia had been gone for 3 years now, taken by cancer that had drained their savings and left him with a mountain of medical debt. He was still climbing out of that hole, working 2 jobs and barely keeping his head above water. But he had Maya, and that was everything. They stopped at a diner just outside the resort area, a family-run place Logan had been to a few times. The waitress recognized him and raised an eyebrow at the sight of all 3 of them soaked to the bone, but she just smiled and showed them to a corner booth. "Order whatever you want," Julia said, looking at the menu. Maya's eyes lit up. "Can I get a milkshake?" "You can get whatever you want," Julia repeated, and Logan saw something in her expression, something almost wistful. When someone saves your life, buying them dinner and a milkshake is really the bare minimum. They ordered, Maya getting a burger and chocolate shake, Logan sticking with coffee and a sandwich, Julia asking for soup and tea. When the food came, they ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Julia spoke again. "I need to ask you something, Logan, and please be honest with me." He looked up from his coffee. "Okay. Do you have somewhere to stay tonight?" "You and Maya," Logan stiffened. "We have a home." "I didn't mean to imply you didn't. I just meant with the flooding, if the roads are washed out, we'll be fine." His voice came out harsher than he intended. "We know these roads." Julia held up her hands. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean any offense, I just worry." Maya, who had been watching this exchange while sipping her milkshake, spoke up. "We live in a trailer park about 5 miles from here. The roads should be okay by now." "Maya," Logan said warningly. "What, she was just asking." Maya turned to Julia. "Dad works really hard. He has 2 jobs. He's just sensitive about it sometimes." Logan wanted the floor to open up and swallow him, his daughter the honest one. Julia was looking at him with something in her expression he couldn't quite read. Pity. He hated pity. I work hard too, Julia said quietly. Probably too hard, actually. My assistant is always telling me I need to slow down, take a vacation, have a life outside of work. She stirred her tea. I'm the CEO of Bennett Development Corporation. We acquire and renovate commercial properties throughout the Southwest. I'm here to look at the Desert Rose Resort because we're considering buying it. Logan let that sink in. CEO. She was a CEO, and he'd just pulled her out of a flash flood in his 15-year-old pickup truck with duct tape holding the passenger seat together. That's impressive. It's exhausting, Julia said with a small laugh, but I love it. My father started the company, and when he retired 5 years ago, he handed it to me. I've been trying to prove myself ever since, trying to show that I can do more than just maintain what he built. She paused. I'm sorry, I don't usually talk about myself this much. There's something about almost dying that makes you chatty, I guess. You didn't almost die, Logan said. I mean you did, but you didn't. I had you. Their eyes met across the table, and Logan felt something shift in his chest. It was just adrenaline, he told himself. Just the aftermath of the rescue, but Julia's cheeks had flushed slightly and she looked away first. I want to give you my contact information, she said, pulling out her phone, which miraculously still worked. I'd like to stay in touch, and I want to compensate you for what you did today. No. Logan's voice was firm. I don't want money for helping someone. That's not who I am. I wasn't trying to insult you. I just wanted to. I know what you wanted to do. Logan took a breath, trying to soften his tone. Look, you seem like a nice person, Julia, but I don't need charity. I have a good life. It's not fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. I work hard, I take care of my kid, and I do what's right. That's enough for me. Julia nodded slowly. I understand, but will you at least let me have your number, as a friend? Because I'd really like to stay in touch, and I promise it has nothing to do with money or charity or anything like that. It's just that you saved my life today, and I don't want to just walk away and never see you again. Maya kicked him under the table. Logan looked at his daughter, who was giving him a pointed look that clearly said, Don't be an idiot, Dad. Fine, he said, and rattled off his number. Julia typed it into her phone and immediately sent him a text so he'd have hers. After dinner, Logan drove Julia to the Desert Rose Resort. It was a sprawling property that had seen better days, perched on a hillside with a view of the valley. Julia thanked them again, hugged Maya goodbye, and shook Logan's hand. Her grip was firm, her palm soft against his calloused one. Thank you, she said one more time, for everything. Just be more careful around flash floods, Logan said, and she laughed, I promise. On the drive home, Maya was unusually quiet until they were almost at the trailer park. Then she said she was nice. Yeah, she was. And pretty. Logan glanced at his daughter. What are you getting at, kiddo? Nothing. Just that she was nice and pretty and she liked you. She was grateful. That's different, if you say so. Maya's tone suggested she thought he was being obtuse. The next few days passed normally. Logan worked his morning shift at the construction site, picked Maya up from school, worked his evening shift at the warehouse, came home and made dinner. They walked Copper, watched TV, did homework. Normal life, except Julia texted him. Nothing pushy, just a message thanking him again and asking if they'd made it home safely that night. Logan responded briefly. Then she sent a picture of the view from the resort with a comment about the sunset. He sent back a thumbs-up emoji. Then she asked about Maya, how she was doing in school. Logan found himself responding with more than just brief acknowledgments. He told Julia about Maya's love of science, how she wanted to be a marine biologist, despite living in the desert. Julia sent back information about a scholarship program she'd heard of for students interested in STEM fields. Logan thanked her but didn't pursue it. He didn't want to feel like he was using the connection. 2 weeks after the flood, Julia texted and asked if he and Maya would like to have dinner with her. She was going to be in the area again for a follow-up meeting at the resort. Logan stared at the message for a long time before showing it to Maya. Say yes, Maya said immediately. I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? She wants to be friends. What's wrong with having friends? Logan couldn't really explain the hesitation he felt. Part of it was pride, he knew. Julia lived in a different world than he did. But part of it was something else, something that had to do with the way his heart had started beating faster when she texted. the way he'd caught himself wondering what she was doing. He hadn't felt anything like that since Sophia died. It felt disloyal somehow, even though he knew rationally that Sophia would want him to move on to be happy. "Okay," he said finally. "We'll have dinner with her." Maya threw her arms around him. "Yes, can I wear my good dress?" "It's just dinner, kiddo." But Logan found himself thinking about what he'd wear too, which was ridiculous because he only owned 3 shirts that weren't covered in construction dust. They met Julia at a Mexican restaurant in town, a local place with good food and reasonable prices. Julia was there when they arrived, sitting in a booth and looking at her phone. She was dressed more casually this time, jeans and a blue sweater that made her eyes look more green than hazel. She looked up and smiled when she saw them, and Logan felt that flutter in his chest again. "Hey," she said, standing up to hug Maya. "You look so pretty," Maya beamed. "Thanks, Dad actually ironed his shirt." "Maya," Logan groaned, but Julia laughed. "He looks nice." She met his eyes. Really nice. Dinner was easier than Logan expected. Julia asked Maya about school, and his daughter talked animatedly about her science project on water conservation. Julia listened with genuine interest, asking questions and making suggestions. She was good with kids, Logan thought. Natural. "What about you?" Logan asked during a lull. "How's the resort project going?" Julia's expression became more animated. "Really well, actually. We're going to move forward with the acquisition. It needs a lot of work, but the bones are good and the location is incredible. I'm thinking we'll do a full renovation, update it to be more eco-friendly, maybe add some wellness components. It could be really special." "How long will something like that take?" "A couple of years, probably. I'll be back and forth a lot during the planning and construction phases." She paused. "Which means I'll be in the area fairly often." Logan nodded, not trusting himself to say anything that wouldn't sound too eager. After dinner, they walked to the nearby park. It was a cool evening, the desert air crisp and clear. Maya ran ahead to the playground, still young enough to enjoy the swings, old enough to be self-conscious about it. Logan and Julia sat on a bench watching her. "She's wonderful," Julia said. "You've done an amazing job with her. She makes it easy, she's a good kid." Logan paused. "Her mom would be proud." Maya mentioned that her mom passed away. "I'm so sorry. 3 years ago, cancer." Logan found it easier to say now than it had been at first. "She fought hard, but in the end, it wasn't enough. She made me promise to take care of Maya, to make sure she was happy and safe. That's all I've tried to do since." Julia was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Have you thought about dating again, or is that too forward a question?" Logan's heart started hammering. "I haven't really had time. Between the 2 jobs and raising Maya, there aren't a lot of hours left in the day, and honestly, I haven't wanted to. It felt wrong somehow, like I'd be betraying Sophia. But lately, I've been wondering if maybe it's time. If maybe Sophia would want me to try to be happy again, not just okay." He looked at Julia. "What about you? CEO seems like it would be pretty time-consuming." "Do you date?" Julia laughed, but it sounded slightly bitter. "I've tried. But most men are either intimidated by what I do, or they think they need to compete with me, or they're only interested because of the money and the company. It's exhausting trying to figure out who's genuine and who's not. That sounds lonely." "It is." Julia met his eyes. "But then, I meet someone who pulls me out of a flash flood without even thinking about it, who doesn't want anything from me except maybe to buy his daughter a milkshake, and I remember that there are still good people in the world." They were sitting close enough that Logan could smell her perfume, something light and floral. He wanted to reach over and take her hand, but he didn't. "Not yet." "Julia," he started, then stopped. "Yes, I like you. I mean, as a person, I like talking to you. I like that Maya likes you. I like that you're genuine and smart and you care about things." He took a breath. "But I need to be honest, I'm not rich. I work hard, but I'm still paying off medical debt from Sophia's treatment. I live in a trailer park. I drive a truck held together with duct tape and prayer. If you're looking for someone on your level, stop." Julia turned to face him fully. "Logan, I don't care about any of that. I care that you're kind. I care that you're a good father. I care that, when you saw someone in trouble, you didn't hesitate to help even though it put you in danger. That's worth more than any amount of money." She paused. "But I also understand if you're not interested in me. I come with my own baggage, I work too much, I travel constantly, I'm not exactly the easiest person to be with. I didn't say I wasn't interested. Logan's voice came out lower, rougher. I'm very interested, I'm just trying to be realistic. Realistic is overrated, Julia smiled. How about we just see what happens? No expectations, no pressure. We spend time together when I'm in town, we keep texting when I'm not, and we see where it goes. Logan found himself smiling back. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Over the next 3 months, Julia came to town 6 times for various meetings and site visits related to the resort project. Each time she spent time with Logan and Maya. They had dinner, went to movies, took hikes in the desert. Maya adored her, and Logan found himself falling harder with each visit. Julia fit into their lives in a way that felt natural. She didn't try to take over or change things. She just added to them, bringing joy and laughter and a sense of possibility that Logan hadn't felt in years. They took things slow, conscious of Maya's presence and feelings. The first time Logan kissed Julia was at the end of their 4th date, standing in the parking lot of the restaurant with the stars bright overhead. She'd tasted like coffee and felt perfect in his arms. I could get used to this, she'd whispered against his mouth. Good, he'd said, and kissed her again. By month 4, they were officially together. Julia met Logan's parents, who lived 2 towns over and who immediately loved her. Logan met Julia's father in Phoenix, a meeting that was slightly more intimidating but went well once the older man realized that Logan genuinely cared about his daughter. She's happier than I've seen her in years, Richard Bennett had told Logan over drinks. Don't screw it up. Yes, sir. The relationship wasn't without challenges. Julia's work schedule was demanding, and there were weeks when they only saw each other once. Logan's financial situation remained tight, and it was hard sometimes not to feel inadequate when Julia talked about business deals worth millions of dollars. But they worked through it, talking honestly about their fears and insecurities, supporting each other through the hard moments. Maya was their biggest cheerleader. She loved having Julia around and had stopped being subtle about wanting her to become a permanent part of their family. When are you going to marry her, Dad? She asked one night at dinner, 6 months into the relationship. Logan choked on his water. Maya, what? You love her, she loves you, she loves me, Copper loves her, it makes sense. These things take time, kiddo. You're not getting any younger, Maya pointed out with 12-year-old wisdom. Logan thought about it, though. He thought about it a lot. He loved Julia, that much was certain. She'd become essential to him, as necessary as breathing. But there was still that part of him that worried about the differences between them, the gap in their lifestyles and resources. Julia apparently had no such worries. 8 months after the flash flood, she invited Logan and Maya to Phoenix for the weekend. She wanted them to see her house, to spend time in her world. Logan agreed, though he felt nervous about it. Julia's house turned out to be a beautiful contemporary home in the foothills, all glass and clean lines with a view of the city. It was tasteful and comfortable rather than ostentatious, filled with books and art and warm colors. This is amazing, Maya breathed, running to look out the floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room. I'm glad you like it. Julia was watching Logan's reaction carefully. I know it's a lot compared to it's beautiful, Logan interrupted. You've done a great job with it. That night, after Maya had gone to bed in the guest room, Logan and Julia sat on the back patio, looking out at the city lights. I need to tell you something, Julia said, her voice serious. Logan's stomach clenched. Okay, the resort project is going to be bigger than I originally planned. The renovation, the expansion, everything. It's going to require someone on site pretty much full-time to manage the construction and implementation. She turned to look at him. I want it to be me. But you're the CEO, don't you have people who I do? But this project, it's important to me. It's where we met. It's the place that changed my life. I want to be hands-on with it. She paused. Which means I'd be moving to your area for the duration of the project. Probably 2 years, maybe more. Logan stared at her. You'd leave Phoenix, leave your house. I'd keep the house, but yes. I'd relocate temporarily. I've already talked to my father about it, and he's supportive. We can manage the rest of the business remotely, and I'll travel back here when needed for major decisions. Julia took his hand. Logan, I want to be near you and Maya. I'm tired of the distance. I want to see you every day, not just when I can schedule a site visit. Julia, that's a huge decision. Your whole life is here. My life is where you are, she squeezed his hand. I love you. I'm in love with you. I have been for months, and I know you love me too, even if you haven't said it yet. I want us to have a real chance, not just a long-distance relationship that has to fit around business trips and phone calls. Logan's throat felt tight. I do love you. God, I love you so much it scares me sometimes. Then stop being scared. Julia moved closer. Take a chance with me. Let me move closer. Let's see what we can build together. Logan kissed her then, pouring everything he felt into it, all the love and hope and fear and desire. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. Yes, he whispered. Move closer, be with us. I want that more than anything. Julia moved to the valley 6 weeks later, renting a comfortable house on the edge of town. It wasn't as grand as her Phoenix home, but it had a yard for copper and was only 10 minutes from Logan's trailer. They fell into a routine. Julia worked during the day on the resort project. Logan did his construction job. Maya went to school. In the evenings, they'd often have dinner together, sometimes at Julia's house, sometimes at Logan's much smaller place. Weekends were for family time, hikes and movies, and lazy Sunday mornings. Logan had quit his warehouse job, unable to keep up the exhausting schedule now that he wanted to spend his evenings with Julia. Money was tighter, but Julia helped without making it obvious, inviting them for dinner, buying groceries that she claimed she'd overpurchased, finding ways to contribute that didn't wound Logan's pride. They'd been together for just over a year when Logan decided he was going to propose. He'd been saving what he could, squirreling away money from every paycheck, and had finally bought a ring. It wasn't huge, but it was beautiful, a simple diamond on a white gold band that had taken 3 months of payments to afford. He planned it carefully, enlisting Maya's help. They would take Julia on a hike to one of her favorite spots, a lookout over the valley where the resort was visible in the distance. Maya would take pictures. Logan would get down on one knee and ask Julia to marry him. The morning of the planned proposal, Logan woke up to his phone ringing. It was Julia, and she sounded upset. Logan, I need to talk to you. Can you come over? His heart sank. Is everything okay? Just please come over. Bring Maya. They drove to Julia's house in silence, Maya looking worried. When they arrived, Julia was waiting on the front porch, her face serious. What's wrong? Logan asked as soon as he was out of the truck. Nothing's wrong exactly, but something's happened and I needed to tell you in person before you heard it anywhere else. Julia looked at Maya. Hey, sweetie. Can you give your dad and me a few minutes alone? Maya nodded and went inside with a backward glance at Logan. Julia, you're scaring me. What is it? My father had a heart attack last night. He's okay, he's going to be fine, but it scared him. Scared all of us. Julia took a breath. He's decided to retire completely, to step back from the company entirely, which means someone needs to take over full-time management of all our properties and projects, not just the resort. Logan felt cold. Which means you need to move back to Phoenix. No, Julia grabbed his hands. No, Logan, listen to me. I told him I'm not moving back. I told him this is where I want to be, where my life is now. We're going to restructure the company, hire more executive staff, set up systems so I can manage remotely with occasional trips to Phoenix. She looked at him intently. I'm not leaving you. I'm not leaving this life we're building. I just wanted you to know before the news breaks that there are going to be some changes, and I might be even busier for a while as we get everything sorted out. Relief flooded through Logan so intensely he felt dizzy. I thought you were going to break up with me. What? No, Logan, no, I'm not going anywhere. Julia pulled him close. You're stuck with me, I hope you know that. Logan held her tight, breathing in the scent of her hair. The ring box was in his pocket, pressing against his leg. This wasn't how he'd planned it, but suddenly he didn't care about plans. Julia, he said, pulling back just enough to look at her face. I love you. I love you so much that I can't imagine my life without you in it. You've brought joy and light back into my world. You've been amazing with Maya. You've made me believe in second chances and happily ever after. He dropped to one knee right there on her front porch, pulling out the ring box with shaking hands. Logan, Julia breathed, tears already forming in her eyes. Julia Bennett, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, Maya's stepmom, part of our crazy little family? I know I can't give you everything you're used to, but I can promise you love and loyalty and the best life I know how to build. Yes, Julia was crying now, pulling him to his feet. Yes, yes, yes. And Logan, you give me everything I need, everything that matters. I love you so much. He slid the ring onto her finger, and she kissed him with such passion that he forgot they were standing on the front porch until he heard the door open and Maya's delighted squeal. I knew it. I knew you were going to propose soon. Can I see the ring? They spent the rest of the day celebrating, calling family members, taking pictures, making plans. Julia cried happy tears multiple times. Maya insisted on calling her friends to share the news. Copper seemed to sense the excitement and barked joyfully, running circles in the yard. That evening, after Maya had finally gone to bed in Julia's guest room, Logan and Julia sat together on the couch, her left hand resting on his chest so the ring caught the light. I was so scared this morning, Logan admitted. When you called and sounded upset, I thought this was all too good to be true, that you'd realized you were too good for me. Logan Ortega, you listened to me. Julia propped herself up on one elbow to look at him. You are the best man I've ever known. You're strong and kind and principled. You risked your life to save a stranger. You're an incredible father. You make me laugh, you make me feel safe, and you love me for who I am, not what I have. You are not beneath me. If anything, I'm the lucky one. We're both lucky, Logan said, pulling her down for a kiss. They were married 4 months later in a small ceremony at the resort, which was still under construction, but had a beautiful outdoor space that Julia had specifically designed with their wedding in mind. Maya was the maid of honor. Logan's best friend from the construction site was his best man, and both their families came together to celebrate. Julia wore a simple white dress that made her look like an angel. Logan wore a suit he'd bought with money Julia's father had quietly given him as a pre-wedding gift, man to man. Maya wore lavender and carried flowers, crying happy tears throughout the ceremony. I take you as you are, Logan said during their vows, his voice thick with emotion. I promise to love you in the good times and the hard times, to support your dreams and build new ones with you, to be your partner and your best friend, to honor you every day of my life. I take you as you are, Julia echoed. I promise to love you and Maya with everything I have. To build a life with you based on trust and respect and laughter. To weather any storm together. To choose you every day, today and always. When they kissed as husband and wife, the small crowd cheered, and Logan felt like the luckiest man alive. The years that followed were filled with joy and growth. Julia's company thrived under the new structure, and the resort became a crown jewel in their portfolio, winning awards for its sustainable design and eco-friendly practices. Logan eventually started his own contracting business, working on projects for Julia's company and others, building a reputation for quality work and fair dealing. Maya flourished, excelling in school and eventually earning a scholarship to study marine biology at college in California. At her high school graduation, both Logan and Julia cried as their daughter walked across the stage. She's going to do amazing things, Julia whispered. She already has, Logan said, squeezing his wife's hand. 2 years after Maya left for college, Julia discovered she was pregnant. The news was unexpected but welcomed with joy. Logan had never thought he'd be a father again, but the idea of having a child with Julia filled him with happiness. Their son, Lucas, was born on a warm spring morning, with Maya flying home from school to be there for his arrival. He had Julia's hazel eyes and Logan's dark hair and a cry that could wake the entire neighborhood. He's perfect, Maya said, holding her baby brother carefully. You guys did good. We did okay, Logan agreed, his arm around Julia's shoulders as they watched Maya coo at the baby. 2 years later, they had a daughter, Emma, who came into the world with the same enthusiasm she'd show for everything in life. The family grew and changed, adapting to the chaos of small children and teenage college visits and business expansions. They moved into a larger house that Julia designed specifically for their family, incorporating Logan's practical input and touches that made it feel like home rather than just a showcase. It had a big yard for the kids and Copper's successor, a golden retriever puppy named Penny. It had a workshop for Logan's weekend projects and a home office for Julia's late-night calls. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Logan took Julia back to the parking lot where they'd first met, now rebuilt and improved with better drainage systems. The memory of that terrifying day had faded into a story they told at parties, the dramatic beginning to their love story. "Can you believe it's been 10 years?" Julia asked, leaning against him. "Best 10 years of my life," Logan said. "Well, except for maybe that day in the parking lot." "That day was pretty stressful," Julia laughed. "You saved my life that day." "You saved mine too," Logan said seriously. "You brought me back to life. You gave me hope and love and a future I'd stopped believing in. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Julia Ortega." "Julia Ortega," she repeated, smiling at her married name. "I'll never get tired of hearing that. And you're the best thing that ever happened to me, Logan. You and Maya and Lucas and Emma. This whole beautiful, chaotic, perfect life we've built." They kissed as the sun set over the valley, the resort lights twinkling in the distance, surrounded by the life they'd created together. A life built on courage and kindness and the willingness to take a chance on love, even when it seemed impossible. A life that started with a flash flood and a rescue and grew into something neither of them could have imagined. It was messy and real and sometimes challenging, but it was theirs. And it was absolutely perfect. Years later, when people asked Logan how he'd met his wife, he'd smile and say he'd pulled her out of a flood. When they asked Julia, she'd say he'd saved her life and she'd fallen in love with him for it. Both versions were true. Both told only part of the story. The real story was about two people from different worlds who found each other in a moment of crisis and chose to build something beautiful together. It was about a struggling dad who never stopped believing in doing the right thing and a successful CEO who learned that real wealth had nothing to do with money. It was about taking chances and facing fears and trusting that love was worth the risk. And it was a story that continued every day, in the laughter of their children and the quiet moments of connection and the knowledge that they'd found in each other exactly what they needed. Not a fairy tale, but something better. A real, honest, imperfect, absolutely wonderful life together.